Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today at our webinar, How to be a Smart Buyer of Business Wireless Services and Get More Productivity Out of Your Wireless Services. My name is Claudia, and I'm the moderator of today's webinar. So before we get started, I would like to talk about some housekeeping items. So we will record the session for you, and that will be available on our website and our resource center, and we will email you the recording link as well. So we will have a 20-minute presentation followed by a 10-minute question-answer period. But please feel free to submit your questions in the chat box to your left side of your screen, and we will try to answer all of those at the end. For all the questions that we will not be able to answer today, we will follow up and get those questions answered by email with you. So today we will have a Kindle Fire drawing at the end, so please make sure you stay with us until during the entire webinar, so you have a chance to win that Kindle Fire. So at this time, I would like to introduce to you the presenters of the day. Our Marketing Director, Chris Rayburn, and presenting with him is Stacy Marshall, our Sales Manager. So I will hand over to Chris. Here we go.
Thank you, Claudia, and good morning, everyone. Today we're going to walk through how we understand business needs when it comes to wireless services, and ultimately how we can look at shopping for wireless services and devices in order to meet those business objectives that we all have. We're going to start today, as we do every single one of our business webinar presentations, with a survey. We do this for a couple of reasons. One, it allows us to learn a little bit more about the range of need that's out there, but it also sets each one of you in the frame of thinking about what the actual scope is of the decisions that you're making, particularly when it comes to business wireless services and business technology in particular. So our wireless business webinar survey question today is, what % of your employees are mobile? If you could take a minute to answer, we'd appreciate it. As we're looking at the results, it looks like it's a little bit all over the map, but as we're looking at it, what we see is kind of what we already knew, is that to a greater or lesser extent among companies are wireless dependent. Whether you're using it for less than 25 or whether you're using it for a majority of your employees, companies need the wireless service, and what we're going to talk about for the next little while is about how we align that wireless service with ultimately meeting your business objectives. So for us, as we look at it, and we talk to customers across industries and across sizes of companies, the number one mistake that companies typically make when they're engaging us in purchasing wireless service is that they rush in. They call us really quickly, or they run into a store because they've seen reacting, and I'm the marketing director, so I get to say this, we're reacting to advertising, looking for a great deal on the latest device. And this really creates one of two scenarios that can occur. The first is that they can get that great deal. They can purchase the wireless service, but ultimately they're purchasing devices that aren't going to meet the needs or the objectives of their company. That's a bad scenario, but the other scenario may be even worse, in that the other thing that happens is that companies come in and they buy the latest and greatest technology. They buy the most advanced smartphones on our network or on someone else's network without considering whether that device is ultimately going to get done the job that their employees need to do. Of those two scenarios, we prefer companies taking that first path, because at least in that case, they're getting a good deal on a device. But ultimately, what we would prefer, what we would recommend to companies, is that before they rush in, that they take a step back, that they consider the business objectives with respect to wireless and how ultimately those business objectives are going to be met by wireless technology and phones in particular. So in terms of a couple examples, if the business objectives that you're trying to meet with your employees and your employees' use of wireless technology is to improve your customer service, then the sorts of applications and the sorts of devices that allow you to continue to connect with employees, employee to employee to serve customers, or your ability to connect with customers in real time and share information and share applications are the sorts of things you're going to be looking for. Alternately, if the business objectives look more aligned with improving productivity or lowering costs, then you're going to be looking for devices that do that. Now, sometimes that's going to mean lower-priced phones, but a lot of times that's going to mean devices that allow you to share information across the organization and take steps out of process that reduce a lot of the manual labor that sometimes go into our day-to-day. With those types of considerations in mind, then, and really only then, should we be looking at those other components of the decision as to what service coverage you need, what devices you need, what applications you're going to be running. Because ultimately, the name of the game for us is to position devices and wireless service with customers that ultimately are going to meet those business objectives, whatever they are. Now, Stacy Marshall's been the Alaska Communications lead of business wireless services for a while. And while we've seen, particularly over the recent past, we've seen businesses change in terms of their use of wireless service, we've seen the needs change, and we've seen the applications change. Stacy, over her 14 years at Alaska Communications, has been delivering wireless solutions and business solutions to Alaska businesses that ultimately fulfill each one of those needs. And Stacy's going to walk us through the other considerations that companies need to make when they're purchasing business wireless. Stacy?
Thank you, Chris. So the first one is usage profile. So you have to see what kind of employee, where are they going to be traveling? Are they going to be in the U.S., traveling all over, or are they just going to be in the state? We have plans to suit every customer, as do all carriers. We need to make sure that they have email. Can they do phone calls? There's different usage profiles depending on what kind of customer that you're talking about and what kind of business you're actually running. The next thing to consider is what types of device are you currently using? So if you just take a second to answer this question. So this is quite interesting. About, I'd say, 87% of us are using smartphones, which is not shocking. A lot of individuals are really going towards the smartphones. It's up to 90. Really going towards the smartphones because of what they can do for their business, how easy they can respond to emails. Texting is a lot easier, I must say, than on the rugged phone. But it also is very curious that mobile hotspots are taking off and are another big thing. You want to be able to use your internet on the go and on your laptop, not just on your phone anymore. So the mobile hotspot feature is awesome for that. The next thing to really consider is the device. Of course, that's what we just talked about. Do you need a touch screen? Would you like a keyboard? All the phones have all the capabilities now. Do you want it to be able to be submersed in water for 30 seconds? That's the Sonim Armor. It has a 5-day battery life. Those are for rough and rugged and people out in the construction where maybe you don't want to spend the higher price on the smartphone because they have a tendency to break the phones. Those are all things to consider when you're actually looking at devices for your employees. We have several different devices. As you see here in the lineup, we have the Samsung Galaxy 2. We've recently launched another smartphone, the HTC One, which are awesome devices. Other carriers have similar devices. The next thing to consider, obviously, is coverage. Every carrier has a different path or a different map, basically, that they cover. Here with Alaska Communications, we cover both in Alaska and in the lower 48. One thing also to consider is where your offices are. Is the individual going to be traveling? What's the coverage like at that location? Where are your customers? Are you going to be traveling to meet them? Are they on the North Slope? Do you need to make sure that you stay connected with them? What about where your suppliers are? Where does your job take you? The next thing I'd like to kind of talk about and go over is the technologies. One myth that's in the industry is the iPhone 4. Everybody thinks it's a 4G iPhone and it's on LTE. That is actually not the case. It's just a 4th generation iPhone. As we look at the generations, we start off with the 2.5 generation, which was the first technology entered into the industry, which was basically just voice and text. The next generation that we launched into is the 3G generation, which gave us the ability to do email, mobile access, picture messaging, video streaming over devices such as smartphones and mobile hotspots. The next technology that you've probably heard about a little bit in the industry is the 3.5 technology, which is also known as HSPA, and that is what some of the carriers in the lower 48 are going to. We have actually chosen to go with LTE, the 4G network, and that's what we've we've been building on, and it's actually 10 times faster than the 3.5 HSPA. So we are actually looking forward to that. The next thing to consider is, of course, service plans. So the number of employees that we have, the data usage that you're going to be using, whether you want a contract or no contract. Some people are seasonal. They have seasonal businesses, and they just want to use prepaid. Also, the long-term employees, whether you have a long-term or short-term employee, that's important. You know, how long they're going to be with the company kind of bases how long you're going to sign a contract. What kind of wireless program do you currently have for your company? Do your employees bring their own devices? Does your company provide devices, or we don't have a wireless program today? If you could take a second to answer those. One other thing to also consider when you're looking at your wireless devices, like we talked about before, especially on smartphones, is insurance. A lot of the organizations and companies offer an insurance program, and it's very smart, especially, you know, we live in this great state of Alaska, and there's lots of water around. Somebody told me a fun fact that there's over 1 million lakes in Alaska that are over 20 acres long. Thought that was interesting this week. So it looks like a lot of us are getting company-provided devices. And we've seen a trend that companies have either went to a stipend program where they actually just provide money towards their employees so they can get their own phone, because then they don't have to worry about the hassles of maintaining it, getting a phone when it's broken. But a lot of companies actually like to provide their employees with a device, because not only is it great for the employee as an incentive to come work for your organization, but it also allows you to, get work accomplished a little bit better. Give them a call. You know you have their phone number on hand. It's not unlisted or unsecure. The next thing to consider when you're actually looking at phones, especially smartphones, is the applications that you choose to use. There's a lot of different applications that you can use out now. I think it's upwards of 1 million on the Android platform. Also, iPhones have some wonderful apps. Evernote is actually let you take snapshots of notes. A couple other ones that we've named here are Dropbox, Camcard. There's a Square card reader, which is awesome. You probably have all heard about the Square, but it basically allows you to take credit cards right from your iPhone and other Android devices. Slapshot, which is the ability to access your PC remotely. Another one that we use here at ACS is Salesforce. It actually lets us take a look into our business and make sure that we have all of our dashboards that we're keeping track of. It's an awesome application. One thing that you should consider also when you're looking at getting phones for your employees or doing a stipend program is a Smart Partner Plan. We have this. Other organizations have it as well. You should ask your wireless provider, if you're not with ACS, what kind of Smart Partner Plan they have. And what this is basically we define what tier your business is, if you're a smaller business or a larger business, and then you get a percentage off your voice plan. You get a percentage off your accessories, and we waive activation fees. Also, if you sign up for the Smart Partner Plan, that application or the discount actually will go down to your employees. So if you are doing a stipend program, they can get 10% off their plan. So that's not only helpful to them, but it's also everybody in their family. So if they had 6 phones on their family, they could qualify for the 10% off discount because of your company. It's another added bonus to do business, or come work for your organization.
Well, Chris and Stacy, thank you for your presentation. You can visit our website at any time, alaskacommunications.com/business. We have a resource center there where you can find all kinds of good information when you're looking not only at wireless services, but all other telecommunication needs that you might have. And as I mentioned, we will upload the recording of this webinar there too, so if you want to rerun it and take notes later, you can do that. Let's move on to our Q&A session. So we had a great question, Stacy. Peter is asking if we have cell phone services in rural Alaska, like Bethel or Goodness Bay.
Well, I don't know if you've heard or not, but we are in basically going forward with a new found wireless company, which is called AWN, the Alaska Wireless Network, and I'll let Chris Rayburn actually talk to that a little bit more.
So for those of you that haven't been following the local news, Alaska Communications and GCI have entered into a joint venture called the Alaska Wireless Network, or AWN, as Stacy had mentioned. And the reason that we did this, and it came as a surprise to a lot of companies, a lot of individuals here in the Alaska market, is that as we are looking at the competition in wireless, meaning one very large competitor that's currently in market, our Alaska market leader in AT&T, and another potential entrant in the name of Verizon, we had two local companies who had primary concerns of serving Alaskans. And what we wanted to do was make sure that amongst us, we had the technology, we had the resources to be able to serve Alaskans with the best in wireless that they could possibly find. And that's why the two companies, GCI and Alaska Communications, pushed their wireless business units to the middle and created a joint venture that would allow us to ultimately have the largest, fastest, most extensive network in the state of Alaska for the purpose of serving Alaskans. So the intent behind that is that, for example, Alaska Communications had been developing LTE technology. As you may or may not know, GCI produces HSPA Plus technology. Well, under a joint venture system, we're able to combine those technologies to provide faster speeds to more places in Alaska. It's a great story for customers throughout the state. The other thing that it does is that it extends the range of customers that are currently Alaska Communications customers and customers that are currently GCI customers. So ultimately, whether you're an Alaska Communications customer or a GCI customer, you're going to get the benefit of both coverages. Now, obviously that's not today. If the answer to Peter's question is, do we have service in those places today? We don't have service in Bethel, and GCI is a good provider that serves the community of Bethel, and that really would be the primary option today. But as we go forward, and we're probably looking at a 2013 close on a joint venture, those sorts of opportunities in terms of the speeds, in terms of the availability, in terms of the coverage, the network coverage across the state, really start to take shape.
Thank you, Chris. We have another question, and this one is from David. He's asking what the timeline for an LTE rollout is.
That is a great question. It's very difficult to answer, David, and I really appreciate you bringing it up. We, at Alaska Communications, we were nearly set to roll out LTE services throughout the state, or at least to the major metro areas through the state. And then, as I've been talking about in the AWN, or the Alaska Wireless Network component, we decided to combine our resources with GCI's in order to provide a more complete, more robust, more extensive network. Now, while there are components of that ultimately you've still got LTE, GCI still has the HSPA Plus. We're now at the point where we're reconfiguring our network so those two networks can operate together and extend the coverage of both of those services. So you have reliable LTE coverage where we've got it, and then exceptional HSPA fallback where we have that as well. So at this point, our engineering teams and our product teams are in the process of creating those developments and making those amendments. So unfortunately, I don't have a date for a specific LTE rollout, but what I will say is that we're working on delivering into here to Alaska and Alaskan businesses as quickly as possible.
Okay, another question regarding the network. Wayne is asking, is the LTE going to be everywhere? HPSA Plus will be at the completion of the AWN.
That's a really good question, and the way we're looking at those maps right now, and we've got, AWN, is not a very old venture. We're still getting into some of the details, but as we've been looking at what were the Alaska Communications coverage maps and what were the GCI coverage maps to look at where a combined service offering for Alaskans might be, what we're starting to see is that there are going to be areas where there will be overlap in the services, and in those areas, the predominant thinking is that LTE, the fastest capability, will be the lead capability. But there are also going to be areas where there isn't dual coverage, and whatever our fastest capability is will be the capability that we'll have customers up on. In those areas where there is overlap, and you can well imagine that's going to be the major metro areas like Anchorage, like Juneau, like Fairbanks, what we would be planning on doing would be having an LTE lead with an HSPA fallback, so that when you are moving in and out of LTE coverage areas, you're still going to have a very good coverage in terms of reliability and speed on HSPA.
All right. Then we have another question that's actually asking if we have wireless service plans that are designed for businesses. Stacy, you might want to address that.
Yeah, we actually have bucket plans that are available for businesses, as well as our other suite of plans that are also available that we offer. But bucket plans are awesome because then you can choose the amount of minutes that you want and then offer those to your employees. Some use a lot of minutes, some not so many. You may have devices in fleet that use maybe 5 or 10 minutes here and there just to check in.
Then we had another question coming in asking what our recommendation is for providing phones or using a stipend program. If we have any recommendations or what is the best practice in market.
Well, I would go with the Smart Partner Plan, which allows the business, usually the CEO, VP, or whoever's running the business, there's a set of phones there to qualify for the Smart Partner Plan, and then offer that discount onto your employees, and then let them go ahead and, usually there's a payroll deduction monthly that some of our businesses do. That's easy for them. It all depends on really what you want to do with your business, but we found that the Smart Partner Plan works really the best for our customers.
And back to the technology question, there's a lot of interest about that kind of topic. Wayne is asking if LTE will be extended in the greater Prudhoe Bay area, since his users are prominently there.
Yeah, it's a good question. And as we stand, we know we have an awful lot of businesses that operate in Prudhoe Bay, and would like to have LTE coverage in that area. Right now, the initial Phase 1 rollout does not have LTE coverage in Prudhoe Bay, but to give you kind of a little bit of insider's insight into why Alaska Wireless Network came together, is that you had two companies that were essentially building competing networks, and those networks were designed and to some extent constructed to compete in the areas that you might expect in the larger cities in Alaska. But the thinking being that as we combine resources to extend our networks, we don't have to compete in specific areas anymore, which allows us to bring LTE ultimately to more places, and that's the logic behind. That's part of the logic behind the Alaska Wireless Network. So while we don't have Prudhoe Bay in the LTE coverage area right now, the idea would be that Prudhoe Bay and a lot of other areas would be in the primary consideration set as to how we extend the LTE network going forward.
Oh, thank you, Chris. So if you don't have any other question, I give you another couple minutes to submit your question in the chat bar. But if all your questions got answered right now, that would be great. But if you do have more questions later within the day or when you're listening to the recording, please feel free to submit them to us. You can go on the web and raise your hand and just submit it there. We make sure that you get that answer too. And let's proceed to the fun part of the webinar. I know that you've all been waiting for this one. We have a Kindle Fire to give away, so a little bit of excitement coming up. And the winner of the Kindle Fire is, and I apologize if I pronounce it wrongly, is Kim Fust, I think. Faust? Is it Faust? I apologize. Thank you for correcting me, Stacey.
No problem.
So, Kim, congratulations for the Kindle Fire. We will make arrangements with you so you get that awesome little tool to your office. Thank you for everybody for attending this webinar. We really hope that this was informative to you and hope to see you here for our next webinar. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.